everyone, I'm Rincy and this is Rincy Reads. Today I'm going to be talking about A Guardian and a Thief by Megha Majumdar. This is a new release that came out in October, and this is a book that I put on hold as soon as I knew about it. I found out about it because it was long listed, I know for sure. No, and I believe shortlisted as well for the National Book Award this year. And Megha Majumdar is an author who I had read previously. I read her debut novel, A Burning, and I liked it. And so she's always been an author that I've been kind of like keeping an eye on in the sense of like being interested in her next book. Or I put this one on hold at the library as soon as I found out about it and got a chance to read it, and it really blew me away. So this is a relatively short book. It's less than 300 pages long. It takes place over the course of the week in a near future Kolkata, India. You are following this family. There is Ma, her 2-year-old daughter, and her elderly father-in-law, and they are getting ready to leave Kolkata to fly to America, specifically Ann Arbor, Michigan, where Ma's husband was able to get a job. Again, this is in a near future Kolkata where the city is getting very significantly impacted by climate change. And so there is very limited resources in terms of like getting out of the city, and especially getting to a country like the United States. And so they are very fortunate that like the husband was able to find a job there, and they now like applied for their visas and everything to be able to go over there and meet him. And so this book takes place over the course of the week leading up to their flight out of India. And so the story begins with them going to the consulate and getting their visas and passports and everything set up, and then they go home, and the next morning their passports and visa are missing. And so this book is basically broken up into 2 points of view. There's Ma and her family as they are like frantically searching for their passports to figure out who stole them and where they are so they can get out of here because they have so little time until their flight. And then you are also following the thief in this situation, Bumba, and him being of lower class and trying to basically provide for himself and be able to get his own family out of a bad situation. And like you see the desperation in his life that leads him to steal from Ma, as well as the other force like some of the other choices that he ends up making. So yeah, that's all I'll say about the plot of the book. Like I said, it's relatively short and it only takes place over the course of the week, and so there's not a lot like plot wise I really want to talk about more than that, but I think that's a pretty good overview of like where you're starting with this book. So yeah, like I said, I'm really glad I ended up picking up this book. I really enjoyed it. I think I would rate this like 4.5 or even 5-star book because I think that it's just like really well done. Every like chapter or section is basically one day over the course of 1 week, and you, or at least I felt just like so much like anxiety while reading this book. Like I ended up reading this book alongside another book because I genuinely would like feel so much anxiety over what was happening that like I couldn't read too much of it at one time personally because it was just like too overwhelming. Now, some of that I'm willing to admit is probably due to like some of the closeness I can feel to this book. I also have a young daughter, and so like imagining my family being in a situation like this with a young kid is never great. And then also just like knowing India and knowing how sometimes these things are run, like there's like a familiarity I think there that also added to the anxiety. But there is a blurb for this book that an author gives that compares this to The Road by Cormac McCarthy, and like while it's not like a direct comparison that you can make between The Road and this book, I do think that The Road is the last book that I felt the same sort of anxiety over. Like the writing style is completely different. The structure is obviously very different, but I think that they're both deal with these sort of like near future, almost dystopias. I mean, The Road is probably closer to dystopia than this one, but like these like near future worlds where things have fallen apart and people are put in these like really terrible situations, and you can just feel the anxiety building as you're reading the book. At least that's the way that I felt about The Road, and I feel like this is the only book since I've read The Road that gave me a close feeling to that book. This book is talking about a lot of really pertinent themes to the world right now. You know, obviously the climate crisis is a big part of this book, but it also just talks about immigration and migration and like class disparity and things like that, and how all of these things come into play into the world, and how all of these things like impact each other as well. So it feels like a very like timely book in that sense as well, but it also talks about like the desperation people feel when it comes to protecting and providing for the people that they love. On like both sides of these like points of views, you see characters like make choices that are not like maybe good choices or the right choices or things like that, but they're doing it because they want to help someone that they love. And there's something like both beautiful and heartbreaking in those situations. But yeah, like this book is like one where I'm like, I want people to read it. Like, I think it's very well done, but oh my goodness, like I just know that like it's going to be hard for people to read. Like, again, the level of anxiety that I felt reading this book, unparalleled to anything that I've read in a really long time. Saying I enjoyed this book doesn't really feel quite right, but like I think that this is a really, really well done novel. I think the writing in here is really masterful. I think the characters are very like beautifully drawn out. And there's so much complexity provided to them, even though this is a really short novel, and you do see like from the point of view of a couple different characters. The one like sort of, I don't want to say complete downside, but I can see the ending to this book being very polarizing to people. Personally, like I liked it, I didn't love it. I do feel like it was the one thing that like keeps this from being like a full 5-star read for me, and why I probably will rate this closer to a 4.5-star rating. But I think that everything else in the book is just so well done that it's worth it. So yeah, those are my quick thoughts on A Guardian and a Thief. Let me know down in the comments below if you've read this book, what your thoughts were on it. Or if you have any questions about the book, feel free to leave that down in the comment section as well. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.